Here's one of those nice interwar aircraft that I'm a little bit obsessed with. It looks like a fairly old model of a fairly old plane. I don't know who the company are. Never heard of them. It's an Aero MB200 and it's one of those magnificently architectural jobbies. So this looks good. I've opened this all up because the box is a bit crumpled and I couldn't get stuff out spontaneously, which all got a bit embarrassing. The main sprue is big and flat. Well, flat, yeah. But anyway, so the box is actually long and quite thick, and it looks like you don't get much, but when you sort of consider it, that's a big. See the size? That's plenty on there. The other thing is there appears to be a lot of very good detail, so it's looking good so far. You can see the ribs on the wings there and probably on the fuselage. They've actually put an interesting amount of ribbing, can you see that, on the interior as well. I suspect a fair amount of the interior is going to be visible because there's so many windows, and the interior top and bottom also ribbed. A couple of bits came off. I think we've got everything. Being a bit rough with it, and the instructions are good. In particular, they've got a little section here on the front: camouflage and markings. MB200s are the Czechoslovakian Air Force. Was khaki overall. The interior was grey. It's nice of them to mention that. That's good. So oh, and glassware. I'm looking forward to this. Lots of little windows, always a sign of an old aircraft. So here we go, paint time. Straight away, the very first thing is different and unusual. You take a part, you take a piece, number 21, and another one, number 24, and you bend them. So here's the part, and there's the groove that allows you to bend it. How about that? Always up for a challenge. Won't be a problem. And there they are. The first one broke completely. The second one's not too bad, but it's wanting to bend back. So I've put a bit of glue on the underside, and I'll just prop it a little and hopefully it will go rigid. In the meantime, those bits. So while the little seats and things are gluing, I moved on to the engines. This ring has to fit inside. Let's point with something. This ring here has to fit inside a slot in this part of the engine. They don't quite fit, so I've taken them apart on one and tried to slot them into the cowling, but that doesn't fit either. And I've got it jammed. I just thought, I wonder if it's just a question of this and that, but look, there's a ring. You can see that, not really a ring, is it? It's a recess in the cowling, and the engine won't go beyond that, and I gave it a bit of a push, now I can't get it out. So all of these parts need a trim. So there's two parts chopped up. So you can see I've taken, some of those aren't so clear, but I've taken about half a millimetre off, and I've taken a whole chunk out of that so that it slots into the back of that. I think it's going to be like this all the way through, therefore. The detail's alright on all of these parts, it's just they're all just not going to fit. I can see that now. So we'll plough on. Right, here's the engines of the section. No, here's the sections of the engine. So got that operating, but made a bit of a mess because it was tricky. Then you have to build this boxy structure, and again the parts don't fit brilliantly, so it got a bit messy again. And then you stick that bit on there. Like this one, it's all very Blue Peter. Here's one I forced together earlier. So we are slowly getting there. But this is going to take a long time if I have to, you know, fiddle about with every single part. Right, onwards. Here's a cross section through the fuselage. I haven't got the glass in yet. It's quite a nice little interior. Not the most brilliant detail, but at least they've bothered with some stuff. The well for the turret below, and a little stool. I'll paint all that up nicely. A little table, probably the navigator I suppose. And then very interesting arrangement for the pilot. All this will get painted up, and I'm going to put little figures in. And then another table there, and I've got to just realised I've got to fit a stool in there. So that's it. Unfortunately it's very gluey because the body of the fuselage, as you can see, has an angle, and then it tapers. Well, it curves around there and then it tapers. But the face of the fuselage, the outside portion, has no curve whatsoever, except at the nose. So you have to get it to curve around. I have put it in hot water, all of that, but of course then you've got to glue it, and it dries, or it dries and then you've got to glue it. Obviously you dry it off quickly. I'm rambling now, but it didn't want to fit. So gradually, as things were holding, I started at this end and began gluing there, and gradually worked my way up, but I couldn't get anything like a little clamp, any of the little clamps I got or anything, to hold it because it's very, very particular. So I ended up using a hand and having to glue with the other hand, so doing everything one-handed was a bit tricky. So it's got a bit messy, but I will paint it, so hopefully it will smooth out. Then I've got to put the glass in. It's not going to be too hard getting in there. I think I'll do that probably with blue tack to push it in with. So it's going alright. Now here we are with a couple of fellas. One's completely painted but needs a bit of tidying. Another one is only there in part. And then I'm going to put a man in each turret. This fella, let me find a pointer. I'm in a shambles here. Ugh. This fella, here comes the pointer somewhere, is a lot smaller than this fella. He went in first, he sits on the thing fine, he looks a little bit big, but some people are big. Don't know if I put a big man in the nose. And there is a little fella. He's out of an Airfix kit, he's out of the Revell, or is it Italeri? I don't know, Revell Luftwaffe, I think. So that's the magic variation in scale. This says it's 1/72nd, but it's probably 1/76. The other thing is, because nothing's fitting properly, I've taken the bottoms off each of these partitions and cut down the sides. You get that as a consequence. Because I then put them in and then find that they don't fit. So you can see I've made that one way too small, but these are just right. Ish. That one's right. Which means it was a wise thing to do. So I'm going to have to, oh yeah, another thing. The windows, what a mess. None of them fit in the holes, so you just have to sort of put them up against the side. You can see that one's, so look, can we see it? That one's way out, so I'll have to push that one in a bit more. And even when you put them sort of one on top of the other and they're supposed to be the same size, they're not. So that was a bit shabby. It means they're not sitting flush in the fuselage, so there's really recessed in quite deeply, which I doubt if that was the case. You'd have all kinds of turbulence problems. But anyway, going along, getting there bit by bit. I'm now going to check I've got all the stuff inside, and then what I'm going to do is put the other side of the fuselage on. This is crisis point, it really is. The wings have a bar which runs through the fuselage and into each wing. That was alright. I tried, and you can get the bar in there. You just slip it under and in, and then you attach the wings to it. Great. But when you actually do it properly and add some glue here and there, it goes floppy, because it has this central section is very thin. So the wings were waving about all over the place. So what I did is cut it in half, and then add some reinforcing in there, which meant lifting that up. Whoops, reinforcing in there using a bit of sprue, which involved lifting that up. Couldn't really show you that process, I'd have liked to, but it took more hands than I've got really to do the job. So here we are, propped up on all sorts. I've been checking the levels and they are okay. Just have to hope that it holds, and part of that's going to be putting the wheels on, because they're the usual wheel for this period. They're not retractable and they sit on, I don't know what you call them, brackets, something like that. So hopefully they're going to help support it, and it's going to have to sit there. I reckon this is going to have to wait about an hour and a half or more. So if I can get a good angle and a good brush, I'll put some little white spots on the dash panel. Meanwhile, we've got the tail on. That was very nice, actually. The whole of the tail, the wing section of the tail, comes as one piece, and you push it in a slot at the back, and then the fin comes as a separate piece. That needed cleaning up a lot under here, but there were 2 pins, and I managed to preserve them, and they fit in little holes, so I know I've got it in the right position because I felt them go in. Disappointing, I have to say, is the glass at the front. I may not have done a brilliant job, but my goodness, because they didn't want to fit, that was really hard. Pushed my skill level at this point, which is a shame, because it's that kind of thing that attracts me. It's a real, you look at this guy sitting in here, I know I picked a big fella, but he's sitting in a room. This is architectural. Hercule Poirot could live in there, couldn't he? Flying residence of Hercule Poirot. It's of an age. I love these architectural aircraft. Oh, and there's the glassware yet to go on, and some of the other bits waiting to go on. Remarkably, as the process has gone on, I've tidied up a little, haven't I? There we go. Oh, and that's going to be interesting. I wanted to tackle this. That's the other part of the cockpit. So I'll have to slot it. Oh no! What a twit! I'm going to have to pull the control panel out to slot it in. That's all right, because it's hardly attached. That wasn't very well focused either, was it? Nor is this. Thank you. Okay, 2.5 hours later, actually, things came up. Oh, that one's sagging. Oh, that's not bad. Oh, there's a little sag. Just see when I put it back down. Well, the wings just got worse really, and I spent 2 days trying to get the wings to secure onto the body, slowly adding little bits of glue, and the disaster is that this wing is a disaster. It's not fitting at all. That wing's alright. Got them fairly level though. That's fairly level, not completely level. Meanwhile, inside the cockpit I got that bit in. a little bit of painting to get rid of the glue smudge, and I'll put the control panel in very shortly. Turning into a nightmare. Just got the transfers on, and then I knew there were different markings for different planes, but I just realised, oh shadows, there's a really nice lion. I'd have preferred that. Too late now. Instead what we've got, it's hard to see, is still a coat of arms, but the red and white checkerboard effect of a version of Poland's coat of arms. Oh, that's so much nicer though. I'll have to put it on something else. A dreadful day for getting, well, any kind of image. This may end up going indoors, but there it is. A very, very dramatic, sturdy looking aircraft. As is apparent by now, I do like my architectural looking aircraft, and this does look a little bit like a rather stylish 1920s block of flats with wings. In the end it's come out alright. There's a few bits that I'm not happy with here and there, and I've forgotten to paint the exhausts around the back of the engines. Crikey. Duck, fellas. One problem with the transfers. Well, two. The white's gone a bit yellow, but look, the edge. Ooh, focus. The edge of the blue just stands out a little, and it does so on a couple of the others. So I'll paint round those, and I might, let's see, I'm having a bit of kind of quandary with things like varnish, that kind of thing. So I might just give this a go, I might not. But I don't want to over weather it or anything like that. Just a little bit of sort of contrasting shades of green here and there, and that will do just fine. So really all the parts are on, although I've lost the kind of aerial antenna at the front. I bet I'll find that and then stick it back on. But it's done. Little bit, as I say, a little bit troublesome. That tail looks wonky. It doesn't look wonky in real life. I wonder what's going on there. Little bit troublesome. It's okay. As a model, prepare yourself. But as an aircraft, I would say it's well worth adding to the collection that anybody may have of interwar aircraft. And I'm going to invest in a few more of these. Not directly this one, but a few more of this era. So expect more. Be quite awe-inspiring to see, I don't know, 10, 15 of these all lined up, ready to go, or coming overhead, wouldn't it? What a sight that would be. Remarkable thing. You see, what I neglected to mention is the fact that this is actually a French aircraft made under license by the Czechs, and I read in my magic little book of information, in mid-1935 a single MB200 was supplied to Czechoslovakia, where 124 aircraft of this type were subsequently built under license by the Aero company. And I said that that coat of arms was Polish. What a mess. I mean, Poland does have some red and white Czech coats of arms, and the little marking on the sides in particular of Spitfires, but other British aircraft flown by Polish pilots was a red and white Czech, so I'm all over the show. Whereas in actual fact this is a Bloch 200, a French aircraft.